Welcome to Political Pulse. Today we have a new member. Well, actually, he's always been with us. He just missed the first show. So, Mo, would you like to introduce yourself a little?
Yeah, just we'll do a real brief introduction. The rest of it, you guys will learn as we go. What it is that I'm trying to do with this show here. So my name is Maurice Mo Hilton. I am former Broward County School Board candidate. Currently working with the National Scholastic Chess Foundation as a program coordinator, as well as the Sunrise Center for Excellence with Chess. So education, I'm big into it. Community, I'm huge into it. Um, got into politics to kind of try and drain the swamp and get rid of people who are career politicians and just try and get some regular people who care about what it is that their voters care about. And that's it. So hoping to bring that kind of energy to the show. I'm the unpolitician, as you can see on the bottom right there, at the unpolitician, because I am not a politician at all. I just have political opinions, and hopefully that we can start a movement that creates more unpoliticians.
Okay,
So,
great.
so before Lynn introduces what the topics are in the show, I just want to say that I think it was great watching you when you were campaigning, and
Thank you,
the
Bill.
fact that people like yourself want to get involved, that are outside the political world, that want to make a difference, is one of the reasons why that we need this show, and we need to get more people involved, because there's
Absolutely.
not enough people that want to get into this ugly swamp that should be
Man, it's
should
ugly.
be jumping in the swamp
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
to
ugly,
make
but
things
it's
happen, right?
No,
Because
I
yeah,
we
it's
think
all,
that's
ugly.
the reason why Bill and I wanted to get into politics too, right?
I
Because
think
I
that's why
think, like,
anybody should get into it, but I mean, it's
yeah,
it's not the case, and we'll bring that up later on, obviously. But no, it was thank you, Bill. Appreciate
yeah,
that
yeah.
no,
because it
All
that's
is
right,
ugly,
Lynn.
awesome.
but it was worthwhile,
Yeah.
man. Worthwhile.
And I'm Lynn Sue, and we've got Bill. Okay, Bill is a current candidate for state senate in District 30. So that
Vote for
covers
me.
Broward and Palm Beach County. So, well, today's show we have a bunch of things lined up for you guys, and the first thing we're going to talk about is incumbents and candidates. The second topic that we're going to talk about is 9/11. And the third topic, we're going to have a guest speaker to talk about Narcan and the benefits it gives to you and your loved ones. And of course, the last topic is going to be talking about insurance because this is affecting all of us. And we really get to do something about it or cause something to happen inside of legislation so that, our lives would be better and we're not paying through the ears and eyes for our insurance. All right. So, yeah. So I'm Lynn again. And of course, like we've got Bill, this conversation like came up while we were discussing topics and we thought like we'd like to share it with you. So Mo, do you remember how that conversation started?
It was just well, it was the discussion of what the show was really about. It was really to try and educate voters on who they're voting for, and not just go with the familiar name or who has the job now and check the box because if they have the job, they must have done a good job, either campaigning or legislatively to want to keep the job. And a lot of times that's not necessarily the best decision. So we decided that we wanted to inform people on how they can get information or access information or why it's important to access information and not just rely on voter cards and other people's opinions because again it affects you tremendously. So that's how the subject came up. And I don't know who wants to go into detail as far as how to access that information or which incumbents we're going to speak on or why it's dangerous to just let them keep getting the job.
Yeah, so I think this is why we started the idea of creating the show, right? Which is
Right.
to make sure that, like, we have voters that are informed with the
Correct.
legislation, with the candidates, with, their races, the races that are going on around them. And we're focusing now on like the Tri County area, which is Miami Beach, Palm Beach, and Broward County. So, yeah, with that said, I think that like first, I encourage everyone to take a look at their voter registration card to see who are their representatives, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, I think that's really important for you to know who they are and also for you to keep an eye on them. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, and when you do decide something is important to you and align your values and principles first
Right.
before, you decide on whether you like someone or not like someone. Because a lot of times, like, we fall into the trap of liking a personality
Mhm.
versus liking the person and their principles.
Right.
And with principles, I don't even mean like, that they have to be like me, they could be principled, meaning like you can predict how they will vote, like
Right.
what they will stand for. So at least you know that that person has integrity inside of their office and
Yeah.
inside of who they are.
So I was talking to one of the people on my campaign team
Hmm.
today, and he brought up an interesting topic, right? Because we're talking about strategy. We're getting
Mhm.
close to the end of the cycle here, and the election is going to be coming up. Mail-in ballots are going to be sent out soon.
Hmm.
And one of the things he said to me is most people will, if they don't vote the party line, they're going to just look at, well, the incumbent has been in the office, so they must be doing a good job. So let's
Right.
vote for the incumbent because they know what's going on.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is, if you look at the incumbent, right, you could look at what they voted for, especially in my race. You could look at what they voted for. You could go on Twitter and then look at what they're fighting against,
Hmm.
right? With like against the governor or against their constituents, right? And see really you really get a good handle on, are they just trying to win an election by talking now,
Yeah.
and everything that
Absolutely.
they voted on in the past doesn't mean anything, or is their personality changed all of a sudden and they're going to be a different representative. So you
Yeah.
have things like independent records that are kept on, like a scorecard, a grade
Yeah.
Mhm.
on the candidates, or not the candidates, on the representatives, so you can see what their grade is,
Hmm.
right? You can
Hmm.
go on their social media and see what they're actually complaining about, because they
Hmm.
complain, often, right? And see if they're voting for and against. And social media, unfortunately, is what buried, President Trump, right? According to a lot of people, they didn't like
Right.
his tweets,
Yep.
but those
I like
tweets
to see.
actually tell you a lot about the person and
Yep.
what they stand for. And then
Hmm.
the voting records are important. And
Right.
and the other thing is, if you don't know your representative, which most people don't, and you don't see a lot of real community um experience, like, I don't want to say experience, but involved in the community at all, right?
Right.
To me, that's not a good representative either, because if you don't know your representative, what they're doing in the community to make the community a better place, they're just
Mhm.
voting out there behind your back, making decisions for you. And these
Thank
decisions
you.
affect the whole state, not just your
Exactly.
district.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hmm.
So people absolutely need to research.
I think
Um,
that's you, Bill. You bring up a very good point because like when I got my voter registration card, I looked at it and obviously it says like district, precinct, da 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 da. Da. But you don't know what that means, nor do you really care because you just want to be able to vote for the president. That's what everyone gets a voter registration card for. I want to vote for the big guys, the president, the governor, and whoever's name keeps showing up on the news all the time. But in communities, you don't ever like if I go to a community event, my state representative is not showing up, my state senator is not showing up. So these people don't really resonate as important to me. It's not like I go out there and like, hey, here's your city mayor. Okay, I know the mayor if I'm involved. Um, so it's like you said, if they're going out and voting for these people and they're picking a name, they're representing you on a state level, making state level decisions, and you got an opportunity to put that person there.
yeah,
So your choice impacts the rest of the state based on where you live and who represents your community.
that's right.
So
Hmm.
it's unfortunate that people again or that the representatives um, are not as visible because they really just like you said, Bill. They go, they campaign, they shake hands, they kiss babies, and then you won't see them again for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's the switch is real quick too. It's like okay, as soon as the campaign's over and I won and I'm sworn in, I'm bold. You won't see me again for years. I'm gonna do all
Well,
kinds of stuff without your consent or whatever.
I mean,
four
just
years,
think
like
how
I'm not
many
gonna make it.
how many community events go on in the the 4 years that you're elected, or 2 years that you're elected,
Tons,
right? Are they in all the
tons.
different communities that they represent? How many commission
Absolutely.
meetings are going on that have important topics there that
Hmm.
they could show their face, and just, whether they make comments or not to the press or the people, they can
Hmm.
introduce themselves and let the people know that they're genuinely interested in the problem that's going on right now in their city,
Right.
and take note on it so that maybe they can help out, or get with some of those constituents afterwards, and create some bonds with the
Right,
cities.
exactly.
So it's important. It's a great topic that we bring up. People really need to research
Right,
the candidates and the incumbents and make sure
right,
that they're aligned. So
Yeah,
right.
no, I mean, sometimes a simple phone call to them,
yeah,
like what bothers me is sometimes like when you have representatives or senators or, commissions that never call you back. Like you can call or reach out to
Or
them, send an
email.
email, and it's like,
Mhm.
sent back by like an aide.
And
And I
they,
got
right.
that like they're super busy and, they have their day jobs too, because, all of
Mhm.
our state reps and state senators are part-time jobs. But the whole thing is like if you can't get a conversation with them or have a meeting where they, go in and, they have a town hall with you or something like that.
Mhm.
Like I think that there's something missing because
Yeah.
like and for me, like right now, if any representative or a senator wants to, be up to the challenge and decide to have their town hall, like hell yeah, go have one, because
Right.
I think it's important for the people. Now, there's another sentiment that I've been hearing on the streets, right? People
Mhm.
are sick and tired of politics and they don't even want to vote. And that's
Yeah.
what's scary,
Mhm.
right? That
Very
scares me
terrifying.
because yeah, I mean, like, and when last minute comes around, Tuesday 6 p.m., they're like, I'm so tired from work, I'm not going to even do that,
Yeah.
and like bail out on voting. So if you know you're going to be that type of person, like I suggest that you get your mail-in ballot. Like, you know so at least you'll still get to vote and you'll be in the comfort of your own home, like doing the research,
Right.
like
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Don't be a
even
last
yeah.
minute
just
It's
guy.
call them
important.
up.
Yeah,
And my
because
wife says, don't be a last minute type of person. Just get your mail in
yeah,
ballot if you know you're going to be that kind of guy. And
Right.
send it in.
No, I mean anything can happen. Like it could,
Yep.
you could fall sick. You could,
Mhm.
you could decide to go on vacation because it's on sale. Who knows? I mean, like
Right.
there's
Sunset.
there's something, there's always something. Like
Yeah.
you get an extra night for 4 nights of booking. And then
Yeah.
it's on
Exactly.
election day. So
I don't think people realize how important the state elections and the local elections are,
no,
It's crucial,
absolutely,
man.
yeah,
because they're
It's critical.
focused on
Yeah.
what's on Fox and CNN and
yeah,
the big federal government, but
yeah,
not realizing that the real decisions that affect us locally are coming from the state
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
and the school boards.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Yeah.
very important.
So actually,
So
we're gonna. This is what our show's about, and I'm pretty sure, like in the future, we're gonna bring in some scorecards for our audience and for the people at home to take a look at, right?
Mhm.
And also maybe take apart certain maybe each county, like the three
Mhm.
counties. So if you live in these three counties, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
yeah,
Um, and the other. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we have 2 more minutes before our Narcan presentation. So, any last thoughts from you guys?
Just again, I know we ran short on time because we obviously have the Narcan presentation, but in the future, again, we'll be able to expand on it and be able to say, listen, why it's important to learn who your candidates are. Um, because again, like Bill says, these decisions are impactful. The people that actually can make those decisions are the ones you're not paying attention to. And again, as a voter, your voice is, extremely important. If you
Hmm.
want your decisions to count, don't think federal, don't think the big guy you see on Fox. Think about the guy that really impacts your community, that
Right.
impacts your day-to-day decision
All
making.
politics is
So
local,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
So
it's for sure.
don't be distracted by the dog and pony show that they put on Fox. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Fox or CNN or whatever. I love watching the news, but don't get distracted by that and focus only on those campaigns and
Yeah.
those candidates. Focus on
Yeah.
those candidates. That's important.
Right. And Bill, you have anything to add?
yeah. No, I think most said it best, and I also think that don't listen to your friends and neighbors. Make the decisions for
Yes,
yourself,
yes. Stop
right?
calling your
Because
friends like, hey, who do you think I should vote for?
yeah, they may not be
You're
very
just giving them a
educated on
second
the
vote.
topic, right? And that's what and that's unfortunately that's why we are where we are right now in the government,
Mhm.
is
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
people aren't understanding what they're voting for.
Mhm.
And they want one out of office to put another one in, but they don't know what the other one's going to do or what the other one's track record is. They just want one out,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
and then you create the world we're in today.
Yeah, when I
So
have more
Yeah.
time, hopefully I'll be able to break down my particular race. I think it's hilarious, that one. It's like, really. When time permits in the future, I'll definitely expand on that because I still find it hilarious.
Yeah.
But that's all.
Now and remember, no matter how much money you make or where you're from, as long as you're a U.S. citizen, like this is one thing that we
Yeah,
all have the same of, right?
yeah,
Like we all have one vote, like just
yeah,
the same.
and it
And
does count.
my vote is equal to Elon Musk's vote, even
Mhm.
though my assets may not equal his.
But if you vote right, well enough, you
Yeah,
got
exactly,
opportunities
right?
to get the said assets.
Having a good leader is like winning a freaking jackpot. Come on, right? Like we know
Absolutely,
that. I
absolutely.
mean,
We
and
experienced
electing
it,
the
and we
wrong leader can actually raise your gas prices 4 times. So
experienced both of those things within the last 8 years. So
it can raise inflation 4 times.
yeah, life
Like
can go
that's
from really good to really bad in one
oh yeah.
in one
In one election. Like
yeah.
so it's so important. Like you think voting is not important, it is so important. Like
all
oh.
right, Lewis. So Lewis is on. So you go ahead.
Awesome.
So the
Let's
next
bring
segment
Lewis on.
we're going to talk about Narcan. Lewis is a retired firefighter, and he'll give you his spiel. But he is saving lives every day, or helping people save lives. So
Awesome.
I'm going to bring him on now. Lewis, how are you?
I'm
Can you put
good.
him in the
Thank you very
center
much.
front?
What's that?
No, I was going to tell Bill, can you put him in the big picture? And then put us in the small one. There we go. No, not you.
Yeah, we don't want Bill.
I'm trying to get that big picture in.
We're working on it.
That's the
This
best we can
could
get.
work.
That's the best we can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Lewis, I gave a brief introduction, but go ahead and introduce yourself, retired firefighter, and why you're doing it, and a little history on the importance of Narcan and what's going on with today's world.
Okay, first of all, thank you all for having me on your show. I'm grateful for any exposure about Narcan. So, my name is Luis Garcia. You can Google Luis Garcia Narcan. I'm a retired 28-year firefighter. I live in and retired from Boynton Beach. I'm a lifelong Florida resident. Grew up down here. I've lived here my whole life. So, after I retired, I went to the restoration industry. My job required me to listen to scanner radios. So as part of that, I hear any 911 fire or EMS call. So about 5-6 years ago, the US FDA approved an over-the-counter, essentially nasal spray to save lives. The Narcan spray. And when I heard about it and I realized, wow, that's a very high dosage of Narcan. It's 4.0 milligrams. That's approximately 4 to 8 times what the ER will give you right now, or the fire rescue medics will give you if they show up on your doorstep. So I realized that would be a game changer. I decided I wanted to try to help save lives. My girlfriend and I started USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. It is an IRS 501c3. Been around 5 years now. This last August 31, International Overdose Awareness Day, was my 5-year anniversary. I've gone to 6 states: Montana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Southern California, and 48 of Florida's 67 counties. I've conducted over 400 classes, 5 years, 6 states, and given out. Oops, let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that before. Given out almost 7,000 sprays. That's about 7,000 people who've shown up, like yourselves, good Samaritans who want to know how to save the life of an animal or a human. So there's a lot we covered in my 2-hour class. And those folks have saved over 300 lives. As part of that, I've also made it a point to equip police departments and volunteer fire departments. And I've worked closely with about 40 of them in those 6 states. And that's it. I'm on a mission to save lives. People always try to figure me out. They'll ask me in a class, well, what's your angle? Are you connected? Have you been impacted? No. My girlfriend and I are non-recovery. We don't know anybody who's battled drugs or alcohol. We don't work in the addiction field. We don't make any money on this venture. And it's simply about being a good human being. I have not even tried drugs or alcohol, never been arrested and intoxicated, but I also don't judge people who are battling alcohol and drugs. That's the most important thing about all this. It doesn't matter whether you're red or blue, whether you're poor or rich, whether you're religious or non-religious. This is simply about being a good human being. Would you help a stranger if you were out and about and somebody dropped right in front of you? Would you step over them, or would you try to help and do CPR? Are you the defibrillator if you could? This is no different. Narcan is simply a pocket defibrillator. Bill sat through my 2-hour class, and that's what I do primarily. Thanks to Bill, we've got another class coming up in Parkland at the City Library this Saturday. And it's all about getting this Narcan spray into everybody's hand so that you can save the life of a human or an animal.
That's right. And
Wow.
so, Louis, explain, to everyone with opioids and
Okay,
fentanyl.
so I'll give you a real brief spiel. I could go on and on, but I fill up 2 hours. So, okay, real quick. First of all, we have to know a couple of things. Thank you all for having. Clearly, you guys are open-minded and compassionate. The greatest challenge in helping people, whether it's getting out Narcan or encouraging police officers to carry Narcan or getting funding for detox, is stigma. Most people judge a person battling drugs, alcohol, homelessness, mental illness. With alcohol and drugs, substance use disorder is the proper name. It's a medical condition. It's a disease, not a life choice. So a lot of people don't realize you can go to CVS right now, any one of us, without a specific prescription, and tell the pharmacist anywhere, but specifically CVS, Walgreens, or Walmart, say, listen, I'd like to get Narcan. They will order you that box of 2 sprays. It'll arrive in 1 or 2 days. Most insurance plans will pay for it. You pay your copay, and poof, you have 2 life-saving sprays. But Narcan, so naloxone hydrochloride has been around 60 years. This is the exact same thing that fire rescue, ER doctors use in a much higher concentration, and obviously not with the needle. In my 28 years in fire rescue, I've administered probably 3,000 times, and almost always it works. The key point here is this naloxone hydrochloride, this Narcan spray that I will give you in my 2-hour class, will save a life. It is designed for fentanyl, carfentanil, acrylfentanyl, acetylfentanyl, all the crazy stuff you may have heard recently about the fentanyl designed to lure kids looking like candy. Anyway, it'll work on all that. The key is the right dosage, which is 4 milligrams, 1 spray in the right time. 8 minutes of collapse, you will bring back the dead 91% of the time. It's also saved 50 dogs, civilian dogs, in the last 5 years, not beside police dogs, but civilian dogs that have gone into baggies or garbage. And that's it. It's a no harm, no foul emergency tool. If we can just not think about the drug resuscitation aspect of it, this is no different than doing CPR, than using a smoke detector, an automatic defibrillator, applying CPR, using a defibrillator, an EpiPen, a fire extinguisher. Narcan is simply a life-saving tool. You can't screw up. You can't hurt them. If you give it to somebody who's having no overdose, it won't help them, won't hurt them. If it's a heart attack or a stroke, won't help them, won't hurt them. If it's an alcohol overdose, let's say, or a pure cocaine overdose, which this only treats opioids, it won't help them, it won't hurt them. Allergies are virtually unheard of in 61 years. It's pretty amazing. Just in a nutshell, I call this a wonder drug that saves lives.
So can you tell
Wow.
everybody how they can get a hold of you? They can donate to you. They can find your classes.
So, please Google Luis Garcia, LuisGarcia, Narcan. Find my GoFundMe, USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan by Luis Garcia. I have a GoFundMe page and a Facebook page by the same page. You can check me out in the state of Florida on the IRS website. I am a 501c3. My phone number is out all over the place. I want it out there. Please give it out. 954-859-4696. So my girlfriend and I will make it a point. A couple things we do. Besides our 2-hour classes, we also ship Narcan all over the United States. If any of your viewers right now, anybody you know is in another state and they can't get it locally or don't have time to sit through a class, I will ask them to watch a 1-hour video I have on Facebook, and then I'll priority mail them a box of 2 sprays. So we priority mail over the U.S. We do classes all over Florida. We go out of Florida if we have enough GoFundMe donations. It's all about covering the expenses. And most importantly, we try to make sure any police department or volunteer fire department anywhere that reaches out is equipped. And so far we've given out, 40 departments, probably about 3,000 sprays specifically to police, volunteer fire personnel. We've also started reaching out to animal rescues. I have some luck lately. We did one at Big Dog Ranch Rescue about 2 years ago. We did a class recently at Barkey Pines. We're waiting to hear back from Tri-County Humane Society. So again, this spray will save a 1-day-old baby. It'll work on your puppy. It'll work on a 90-year-old lady who weighs 50 pounds. A muscle-headed guy who's overdosed 10 times this month. It'll work on a 100-pound dog. It will bring back the dead. Again, my number is 954-859-4696. Luis Garcia, USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. And then people always ask, what happens if they're afraid of liability? They're afraid of hurting somebody. Or what if they don't need it? Every single person in every single state now, as of September 2022 is immune from liability. All U.S. states and territories. You can fly with this. Please fly with the Narcan. If you attend my class, please fly with it. 10 people in the United States have died on U.S. jetliners inside the U.S. Most of them were in their 20s and 30s because currently the FAA does not require airplanes to carry Narcan. It's crazy. They have a defibrillator. So if you have a heart attack or diabetic emergency, they'll call for a doctor. If they're the nurse or a fire rescue medic, we can use their equipment. I could start an IV on you on an airplane. I could stick a breathing down your throat. I could use the defibrillator, and they don't carry Narcan. So we've had 8 human beings die in the last year. Other great things about this, you don't have to worry about the expiration date. You don't have to worry about the storage temperature. This is really a pretty amazing thing that will save a life.
All right.
I have a question about.
Sure, please.
Because you said that this is what you have is a lot more potent than what the ER or the
and fire rescue will give you on their first.
Yeah. Now, does the potency make a difference in terms of it working or because
absolutely?
Okay. So.
Yeah, it really is about dosage. Thanks for asking that. A lot of people believe, well, they don't want. They say I don't need to carry Narcan because my local police carry it, or I'm 3 blocks away from a fire station, or half a mile from the ER. Here's the thing you don't realize, and I cover this in so much more detail in my 2-hour class. Hopefully you'll make it or people will make it. The thing is, when I worked in fire rescue, we gave naloxone hydrochloride, which is the medical name for Narcan. We gave it intravenously, intramuscular, endotracheally, or bone injection gun, but we give it at 0.5 to 1.0 milligrams. It's a complicated, but in a nutshell, here's what the issue there. The American Heart Association Code Blue Book guidelines, the resuscitation rule, if you will, say that if the healthcare professional or the fire rescue medic believes a person is experiencing a narcotic overdose, administer 0.5 to 1.0 milligram and repeat slowly as needed. But next paragraph, it says if fentanyl is suspected, the healthcare professionals should immediately administer 2 milligrams and be prepared to rapidly administer another 2 milligrams within 1 minute. Hence, you get the 4 milligrams that's approved by the FDA, 4.0 milligrams. So just I confused you, but did that make sense? The ER fire rescue.
No, it does.
People ask me, well, why would the ER or the doctor, the fire rescue medics, not give me the full amount? I'll be honest, it's stigma. I worked 28 years in fire rescue. I also spent 15 years part-time in the jails working with the BBSO and PBSO booking. And the reality is the level of compassion and empathy is not what you might think it would be. There's a lot of cops, firemen, nurses, jail people, ER folks that will treat you poorly if you come in for an overdose. And honestly, a lot of them don't have the compassion. So therefore, bottom line, they can either give you 1 milligram if you come in receiving CPR, or 4 milligrams. If that ER doctor, that nurse, that fire rescue medic has great compassion, gives you 4 milligrams, you will probably live. If they only give you 1 milligram at a time, you will die with medical assistance, and you'll become one of the 110,000 people that died in the last 12 months.
Okay, I see why you do this now. Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
That's why I helped get involved, and I actually was helping Lewis before I even thought about being a candidate.
Yeah, I got to throw that out there. Bill was amazing. A year ago, Bill helped me set up a class at Frankie Beans, downtown Delray. We've been working together. I mean, I'm a true believer in Bill, just as I'm a true believer in Narcan. And thank you all for listening, because the key is you folks posting on your social media. Hey, I just learned something about Narcan. Go, you can get it at CVS. Put a picture, say, go get Narcan, go to this class. And if they can't come to me, they can set up a class. I'll do a 2-hour class anywhere. I've done it in the housing projects. I've done it in churches, temples, nightclubs, anywhere that will let me have 2 hours in air conditioning.
Not for nothing. That nightclub thing is probably a good idea. You'd be prepared for it.
When I started this 5 years ago, my first year, I was like, oh, sure, I went anywhere. And I would forget to ask about air conditioning. And a lot of people would stick me.
Then you needed Narcan.
2 hours. Yeah, you're right. Thank you all for listening, and spread the word. September is Suicide Awareness Month. September is also National Addiction Recovery Month. We need to have compassion. Whether or not you've been touched, like I said, I've never tried drugs, never been intoxicated, don't drink, don't smoke, but I also don't judge. But for the grace of God go I. I've got 2 kids. They're 18, 19. I don't know what the future holds. I pray they don't get into anything, but you never know.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
Thank you all for
absolutely.
your time. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Hey,
Thank you,
thank
Lewis.
you.
We'll talk
Thank you.
soon.
It was
Take care.
Appreciate it.
straight to the point. Love it. Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, you see, like this open border thing that we have, and
Mhm.
it's bringing in all this fentanyl
Yeah.
from. It's really scary, like with the amount of people that are dying. I think you never know, and these things are they're inexpensive and they're all over the place. It's like laced in, and you know what I mean.
The
And it's
problem that I
so
see with
pure
this,
too.
yeah,
What's
and the
that?
problem that I see, that's why I wanted to bring Lewis on the show, is you watch the news, and the news is flooded with this information, but they're not teaching you how to save a life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you about all the terrible things, right? How
Mm-hmm.
many kids are dying, or how many people are dying, or right? But they're not saying. But there's a while this is happening, there are solutions that can help you in case you encounter this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Narcan is just like with COVID, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The, it's terrible, but we need to be able to provide people with solutions. And again, people
Right.
that are in office, representatives, it's not all about just legislature. It's about things like this
Mhm.
that touch the community and help the community, in a life and death situation. Because I can promise you, if someone that's in the government seen somebody on the street and their kid was overdosed and they saved them, that will go a hell of a lot further with the whole community than it's going to go with something that they put in legislation,
Right.
right? So,
Right. And even just
I
and
think it's important.
no, I agree. And I mean,
Yeah.
just to be aware of it, like I wasn't aware of it before. I was aware of Narcan, but I didn't know that the potency made a difference. I didn't know that it's not a part of every single first aid kit. You have, like you said, you have AEDs on planes or everywhere else in the world in case of a heart attack. But what about in case of an overdose or in case of anything that
Yeah,
Narcan can
it
actually
should be
help?
on every plane, should be at every college, university, every dorm,
Correct.
every RA should have it. I
Hmm.
mean, kids should have it when they're out,
Especially on dorms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on
Yeah.
dorms. He even mentioned doing the
Oh my
class in a
gosh. Yeah.
nightclub. You might need it in a nightclub. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There you
so,
go.
Right. I mean, there's some
so
nightclubs that have some pretty seedy things going on upstairs, right? So
some nightclubs. I'm sorry. That's why I left the nightlife alone, man. I don't like seeing things happening. So,
there you go. All right, Lynn. So what we got coming up next?
Well, it's drug recovery and all that too, right? I mean, like it's did he say like it was drug recovery month and
Yes, it's
suicide
yeah, uh-huh.
Suicide
prevention?
Prevention Month. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that this is really important. A lot of the things that are happening in our society right now, we see that, we see like these mass shooters, and these are all mental illnesses or symptoms of, right?
Right.
I think it's like really important that we keep our eyes open and make sure that we don't ignore them, because like I know that, like he said something about a stigma, right, with drugs and all that. I
Mhm.
think there's a stigma with that too, with like suicide and depression and all that. So people tend to not want to address it. I think
Right.
it's important that we all speak up about it as well, because like, you could be saving a life. And there's so many kids these days, and that whole lockdown that happened earlier, like, in 2020
Right.
was seriously
Yep.
detrimental to a lot of teens. So, with that said, before we go on, I just wanted to acknowledge like it's kind of a jump, but we're talking about open borders and all that, and how I just wanted to recognize 9/11 while we have the time. Do we have our guests lined up yet before I go into that? For,
Um, well, my guest unfortunately canceled. Parent life. His kids are going
is somebody
crazy.
is somebody else there? I mean, my guest, Bill. No, you see anybody in
No, there's
the backstage?
Ange.
Agnes.
Yes.
Yeah, she's here. Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right.
So
So you
our
want to give a
next,
brief introduction?
yeah, so our next stop is about insurance. I'm sure like everybody who owns a home and a car, health insurance has to buy whatever. It's we notice the price of insurance like going up and up and up, especially like property insurance. So my next guest is our next guest is actually Agnes Iwanska. She is an insurance agent, and she just wants to give us the pulse on what's on the ground about insurance before we start our discussion. So we let's bring her to the stage here. There we go. Hey, Agnes.
Hello, how are you?
Great, great, great.
How are you?
Good,
Okay,
thank you.
so yeah, we have Bill and Mo here. Our name tags are gone somewhere. I don't know where they went,
Right
but
now, we're the Bill Reckoner show.
yeah, but it's okay. We're all good.
It sounds
Yeah.
cool, so we'll run with it.
So, and Agnes, you want to share a little bit about yourself, just really quickly?
Sure. I've been in the business for the last 20 years. I've been an agent. I used to live in Midwest for many years, and I moved down to Florida roughly 3 years ago. I'm familiar with the markets in Midwest and also here, so I can tell you what the differences are, definitely. And I work for an insurance brokerage currently,
Mm-hmm.
where we have a high volume of policies that we're writing, and we can see what's changing and what is different, right? Because that's kind of what you guys would like to have as a topic of the conversation. What has changed, right, within last couple of years? So I think the prime like the main example is one of the clients who reached out to me recently and said that her premium on the homeowner's policy is basically 4 times as much as she used to pay 4 years ago, which means that it's 100% increase every year, basically, right? From the original
Mm-hmm.
written premium. And it's a regular house. There's nothing wrong with it. It has pretty new roof because as not sure if you guys are familiar, there are a lot of limitations with the roof age, and it makes it very complicated when you have an older roof on the house. Um, and that's a big problem that we're facing here in the industry. It's constant increase of the rates, plus what we're facing as well, not too many choices with where we can place the risk. And there are some areas like Tri County, Miami Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, where we have one choice for a client, for example. Sometimes we have two companies that we can place um, the client with. But it's a challenging market. And uh, other funny story, I had a client today that I actually quoted who's moving from Maryland over here, and her premium came back at $4,000, and she was shocked because up there she's paying only $800 a year,
I
and
was
she was
about
like,
to say
yeah, she was
So,
asking me like, "Are you serious? Is this really the rate?" So
it's
people don't
real.
realize how
Well,
expensive it is here, and it's also not like a super special property that she's buying. I mostly do homeowners insurance, and then other lines of business as well. But I think the homeowners insurance industry is the part where we're really like struggling these days, and it's a big issue
Mm-hmm.
with
so
like
some of the things that drive this up, right? What are some of the things? I know there's a lot of insurance fraud that goes on, especially with
oh
roofers.
yeah,
You got mitigation fraud, right? Where they come in and they want to pay you to mess up your kitchen a little bit so that they can make money on the mitigations. So
exactly.
what other factors are driving up the cost, and what can people do, um, to help? I mean, is there anything, or is there anything from your side as an insurance company that you would like to see legislation go for to help the homeowners out?
I think some kind of protection for the insurance companies that they can um, be safe from all of the fraud, because you can't blame insurance carriers that they are backing out of the market. Like there were a few
right.
national carriers that were available in Florida, and they don't want to write business over here anymore, right? Because it's
Right.
just scary for them. And some kind of legislation that protects insurance companies from fraud. I think that's the biggest reason, because we have weather related issues here, right? And we know that when hurricane hits, the payouts are huge, but I don't think that's the main problem, because there are other states that are on the coastline as well, right? And they have weather problems the same as Florida does, but carriers are still available there. I think Florida, mostly the fraud is something that is like killing it super big time over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know DeSantis has passed something in legislation. I haven't really fully read it, but it seems like it's something that is not an immediate help to homeowners. It's more going to take place over the next 18 to 24 months because it has to catch up to itself. But I know homeowners are looking for immediate relief. I mean, it's tough, and all of the taxes are going up because now they're saying that the home's worth more money. So you got property taxes going up, your insurance is going up, your groceries have gone up, but your paycheck hasn't,
Yeah,
right?
and your mortgage rates went up as well, right?
And your
And
mortgage
I
rates are
think
going
what we see a lot is too that the mortgage uh, deals, they fell apart because of the insurance rate,
right.
Yeah.
because you have to meet all of the ratios and have everything in place, right, so that
Hmm.
you can get the mortgage, and then you get the insurance rate, and if it's so much higher than expected, then it might not really happen. So it might be something that kills the deal on that side as well, that you're not able to buy a house because insurance is too expensive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've had a couple of deals that happened like that. I'm a mortgage lender, so I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. So I also think that now that that we realize that Florida's a big scam state in a lot of areas, right? I mean, it's like one of the anything that goes wrong in the country, there's always a link back to Florida somewhere. It's on the news. It's crazy. But
It's the
I
sunny
think,
state full of shady people.
yeah,
And it's
yep,
unfortunate because you've got a lot of, like I mentioned before, like yesterday, my parents are, they've got roof damage and they're legitimate people. They're not, my dad's not trying to make money off of these people, but he's got to go through this long litigation process. And meanwhile, he's dealing with, because, in the process of them, looking at the roof to see how bad the damage is, they're cutting holes in your ceilings. So then you've got to go this whole time and go through this drawn out process with a hole in your ceiling because other people can't just do right business. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that have to suffer because there's a lot of shady people in the Sunshine State.
well,
um,
I think the
Yeah.
prosecution laws have to get a lot tighter on these companies
I
too,
agree. I agree
Yep,
right?
because
for
They
sure.
they,
some of the
they should
allegations
they
have to
should
be
face
for.
major penalties, repaying people or the insurance company the money that they took.
Yep.
There could be jail time. They should be banned from having a license in the state of Florida to do business again, as
Yep.
well as their contractor license should be taken away. You
Yep.
know, there's all kinds of things that we can do to mitigate this problem, but we need to do it because if
Yeah.
we don't and we don't start making examples out of these companies, when is it going to stop?
I
It's
mean,
Well,
I'm
not.
I mean,
sure.
like that. I mean,
Yeah.
this is notorious about Florida, right? Like 80% of the litigation of insurance, property insurance, is coming out of Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why, I mean, that car insurance, it's all because, like, I think there's no repercussions for people who are filing fraudulent claims
No, I
or,
mean,
like,
and you are
attempting
confident about it
to
too.
make these claims. So
Like now with the new,
definitely there has to be penalties inside of that.
yeah.
Like, if they do lose the case against the insurance company, they have to pay for all litigation fees. And then, they think twice before making some kind of weird claim. I
Yeah.
think that, yeah. And I'm not saying everybody's doing that, but I think it's also,
It's
people,
it's not everybody.
there's,
Hold on,
we've
I'm let you
got
finish
like,
that one. Interrupt.
things. Okay, yeah. No, we've got attorneys, right, that are advertising all of this.
Mhm.
Now, you remember? I don't know if you heard. Like, a woman caught STD in her car and sued Geico for $5 million.
I've
No, I
heard
didn't hear
about that one,
I
yes.
that.
did not hear about that, but how did she catch it in the car, and how's Geico responsible for
Yeah,
that?
I'm like,
Well, guess how?
I mean,
Guess how? No,
I
she
mean, I know
probably
how.
didn't.
well, how is that Geico's
Where
fault?
was Geico in that?
Was it
I
the
don't think that
gecko?
little green lizard was
Was it
enjoying
the
the time.
gecko that did it? Yeah.
No, so this is exactly what I'm saying is, like, there's these ridiculous claims that are keep coming up, right? That's one thing. The second thing is, like, I lived in Thailand for 20 years, right? Like, I lived in the house the house that we owned for like over 30 years. Like, we never changed the roof on it. I don't know what technology America uses on their roofing that we need such expensive and, like, weak ass roofs that don't last past 20 years. I mean, like, that's something that's all. I think the state gets to do some study on that, or actually, I would say private entities should do some research on that and see what they can do for, hurricane prone areas, because
You need
this
private. You
is,
need private entities to do stuff like that because
yeah,
Yeah.
the state gets nothing done.
that's
You know,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
So that's what I was thinking. Like, private entities should be doing some research on this and providing the service, because if their roof isn't much expensive than whatever it is that's available. The other thing is, like, we have these silicone roofings that apparently work really well, but insurance companies will not recognize your roof if it was like, I think you and I did a deal together. Remember, Agnes? There was somebody who did a silicone roof in her house. Like, she needed a new roof, but she couldn't afford it, so she did silicone, and it worked really well.
I
But
believe. Yeah, I remember
and the
that one.
insurance company still charged her $16,000 a year for
Yeah.
her insurance. That's
Yeah.
that's how freaking crazy it is. And like, why, if whatever it is that's working, not damaging the house and keeping the house together and covered, like, I don't know, like, there should
the
be some
silicone
studies
probably
on this.
works better. It lasts longer. They'll have less claims against it. And here they go and they don't acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
they don't know. I think they are also very overcautious, but you can't really blame them, because those roofs, they actually last pretty long. It's not the problem. Like, if you get a metal roof, it's gonna serve you for like 50 years probably, right? And there are some houses in Florida with a metal roof, but then the insurance companies, they have a limitation that, oh, it can't be older than 20 years, can be older than 25. Oh, we will only take it if it's, has life expectancy of 5 years more. And there's so many little things, but I think, again, it goes back to frauds, like, that people made them be this way, that
Well,
Right.
well,
it's kind of, you
yeah.
get very cautious that you put a limitation. Some companies say, okay, shingles only up to 7 years,
But should you only pay 7 years worth of premium towards it then?
they're
Like,
just
Yeah.
not gonna insure it if it's older than
that-
7. I
Exactly.
think
No,
with
and
this
if you
new
change
bill,
insurance companies, what happens?
yeah,
Right?
I think with this new bill, it actually changes it. It cannot be up to 15 years, that, they can't, like, cancel you for the age of the roof. Or they say, oh, in this county, we only want houses that are 1 year old or, newer. We don't want
yeah.
anything else that is older than that.
So
So,
we're gonna pick and choose our clients and
yeah,
people will cover. It's like, but then you
yeah,
disadvantage everybody else who buys a home. So, and
Mm.
again, a lot of times it's not even the people; it's these people that they they know the ins and outs of the business, and they encourage
Yeah.
people to do the wrong things. So, because people don't necessarily know how to do fraud until you teach them. So,
So
yeah.
they learn quick. They
but
learn quick.
they're quick studies, man. I tell you that much.
But we're actually out of time on the show.
But it was so great having you, Agnes. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Thank you
coming
for
on such
having me.
short notice. But don't go yet. Anyway, anybody? Do we have anything else? Bill, Bill or Mo, you want to wrap it up?
I mean, there was still so much to go, but
I
short of
know,
time.
right? Maybe we'll
Yeah.
invite you back and have another conversation. Would you like that, Agnes? Would you mind?
Sure, always,
Okay. Awesome.
anytime.
Great.
Well, how can
Okay.
people get a
Perfect.
hold of you, Agnes? Tell us how people can get a hold of you?
um, what should I give my phone number? You
Just the
can ask
business one.
Lynn how to get in
Email,
hold of me.
something.
Yeah, so you can reach me via email, which is my first name dot last name at rate.com. And if you have any questions about insurance, I'm always more than happy to answer those for you.
You might have to
Okay.
spell
We
your
can
first
we
and
can
last
put it
name.
in. We can put it in
In
the
the chat or
description.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put it in the description of the video on YouTube or something. I'll put it in
Okay.
for you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you guys so much, and of course, like, we'll see you again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Right?
Yeah. And if you have
Today
any
we
questions,
apologies. Yeah.
yeah, if you have any
Apologies for the
questions,
late start today. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
any
next time y'all
questions
show
or
up
any
on time.
topics, please send them in.
Yeah,
let's
if
tell
you'd
our
like to
audience
hear
show
about
early.
something or some experts that we can invite to share or shed light, for you guys, like, we will put together our resources and bring them on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, you guys, thank you so much for such a great show.
All right.
All right.
We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah.
same time,
Awesome.
same well, earlier time, same place. So,
Yeah.
right on
Okay.
time.
All
All right,
right.
Okay.
guys.
Bye bye.
Have a great night.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you guys. Bye.